Hey folks, it's Greg. You're watching Greg Country Cabin Outdoors. I'm headed out to my cabin because it's supposed to get extremely cold and I don't want water pipes freezing up. So I have to winterize the cabin and the shedteau. The shedteau has a 30-gallon water tank in it, if you remember. So I'm going to have to empty that out. I'm going to have to clear the pump and dump antifreeze in the drains, not just in the shedteau but in the cabin. I'll have to drain the water heater. I have my compressor out there already, so I'll be hooking the compressor up and blowing everything out. I've got a garden hose that I run from the water heater out to the outdoors so that I can drain the water heater, and I will use the compressor pressure to drain the water heater completely. So hey, stay tuned. I'll show you how I winterize my shedteau and my cabin outside. And right down here, you can't see it, is an air compressor. Okay, turn the light on. Right here is my thermostat. I'm going to turn that up a little bit because it's cold in here. Okay, so my air compressor, you can just barely see that shadow right there. It's got the hose laying on top of it. So what I have to do is come in here in the bathroom and get this adapter right here. This particular adapter goes on the outside spigot and hooks to my air compressor. And what I will do is pressurize my lines via this adapter and my air compressor. Now, inside this closet is the switch for my pump right here, which I will not use. And way back in the back is the switch for the water heater, which is already shut off. There's the drain, and I will get a garden hose, which, by the way, happens to be inside the cabin, under the bed. And I will hook that garden hose up to the water heater, run it outside, drain the water heater, and once the water heater is drained, then I can continue the process of draining the water lines. And I actually worked in landscaping for over 20 years now, and one of my jobs was bleeding off sprinkler systems. So I know for a fact that if it's blowing what looks like steam or moisture, it's not dry yet. When it blows completely clear, it's dry. So hold on, we'll see what happens. Okay, so I went out to the car and got my flashlight. There's my air compressor. There's my hose. There's my fitting. I'll run this hose outside and might as well show you where I'm going with it. Comes right out here, right along the flower bed and around the corner to this spigot right here. Okay, and I have okay, the compressor is built up and it's set at about 45 pounds right now. it's full. We're good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and hook this up. I don't want to over pressurize my water lines. So, hey, I'll run this hose out, hook it up to the adapter, and make things happen. Okay, I ran the hose around the house. So what I have to do now is hook this fitting in there. Bear with me, folks. This is all new to me. Not really, but the video portion of it is. Now, the compressor's already shut off. So all I have to do is hook this hose up to that fitting. All right. Okay, the hose is hooked up. I'll go get my key and open that valve and pressurize the lines. Okay, so here's the key. I have an extra gasket in there. It's a 4-way. I only need one. But hey, you do what you have to. There's 4 different sizes on this key. There's a large. There's a not so large. There's a medium and a small. That's even smaller than the small. So there's a large, a medium, a not so medium, and a small. So the not so medium is the one I'm going to be using. If you can see the little ridges on it, it's been used before. So what I got to do is open up that valve, pressurize the lines, air compressor will kick on, and I have to start draining, first of all, the water heater. And I have to hook up to that right there, and it leaks. So that's why I have a cap on it, so that when it's leaking in the summertime, I don't worry about it rotting my floor out. So let's get that hose hooked up. Okay, you may have been wondering why I had an extra washer in there. This one has disappeared more than once, and what I'm hooking up to is right there, and that cap has a rubber gasket in it, but I don't want to have to move it around or take a chance on losing it, so I have extras. Okay, if you look real close, you can see that when I took this cap off, a little bit of water spilled out, and that's why I keep that cap on there, so that I don't have a little bit of water spilling out all season long. So let's get this hose outside and start draining the water tank. Okay, the garden hose run outside. So the next step is to open up this water valve. To let it drain, and I may have to swivel that. Stay tuned. Okay, the valve's open, the hose runs outside. Don't have a compressor on hand. One thing you can do is open the hot water valve, and as you can see, there's no water coming out of that valve. That's because air is coming into that valve to accommodate the suction that the water leaving the tank is creating. So yes, you can drain this that way if you want to, but it takes forever. I'm going to be here for a couple hours just as it is. And this is only a 40-gallon water tank. So let's get this thing drained out and go from there. Okay, so the first step is turning the water on. So I got to find the right adapter. If you hear it. So now we're going to blow it out. And the compressor just kicked on. You might be able to hear it now. And what that's doing is pumping air into the water tank, the heater. So we should have water coming out of the hose down here at the bottom of the hill. Yes, look real closely. You can see the water flowing. Here, let me show you. The water's flowing out of that tank. So now what we have to do is wait for that to run dry, and then we can go ahead and blow out the rest of the lines. Okay, the next step is taking out stuff that can freeze. Tomato sauce, the Rotel, the New England clam chowder, the cream of chicken soup, the cream of mushroom soup, and that's about it. The oil will survive, the salt will survive, the noodles will survive, believe it or not, the peanut butter will survive. The fruit, I'll take that home with me. So the food cabinet is basically empty. Okay, I have to make sure I empty my coffee pot, and I have to make sure that I empty out the water filter. This valve right here is the outlet valve for the water heater. So if all I want to do is drain the water heater, I close this valve, and it will blow out the water heater. Once the water heater is blown out, I'll close this valve, which is the inlet, and then I can blow out all the rest of the lines. But until then, until I'm blowing air out of that hose, I have to continue to pressurize this tank and blow that out. Okay, so how do you know when the water tank is blown out? Simple. You walk out here and check the hose. It's still pumping water out. So it's not empty yet. Once it starts blowing air, you know it's empty. Okay, apparently the hose is clogged somewhere along the way, so I've got to get in there and figure out why. Because this should be blowing air, and it's not blowing anything right now. Okay, the next step is to blow out the cold water. Okay, I'm down here at the shed toe. I'll go ahead and turn the lights on. Just the kitchen lights, don't need them all. So I have to move the folding chairs out of the way to get to that little cabinet right there. So I get that taken care of. Cabinet. Now let's turn the flashlight on. So all I have to do at this point is open this valve, and that will drain my water tank. Now, I don't know if you can see, yeah, you can see it there. I'm about half full, not quite. So this will drain this one completely out. And at that point, I will turn on my pump and blow the excess water out of the line. And it can run dry for quite a while. So I don't have to worry about burning my pump up, and I don't have to worry about making sure that it's full of antifreeze. And all I have to do at that point is drain this bucket, because that's where the drain runs into. So it's nowhere near full. It may have a little bit of water in it because I've demonstrated it for a few friends, but it's not a lot. So the shed toe is nothing compared to the cabin. Just a matter of opening the valve and draining it out. At this point, it's time to go down to the basement or the crawl space and blow out the lines. This is the entrance to my crawl space. I used to have a light. It's still there. I just haven't replaced the bulb for a long time, hanging right there, so I could plug it in that receptacle right there. But anyway, what I'm going to do is take you back here and show you what I have to do to finish winterizing. Okay, in order to finish winterizing, I have to open that valve right there, that valve right there, that valve right there, and that valve right there. I'm not going to show you opening that valve right there because it blows water right in my face. After those are done, then I have to open this valve, which is connected to the pressure tank. Okay, that valve right there bleeds off everything from the hose that comes in from the pump. So the pressure tank's empty until the compressor builds it back up again. I'm going to go ahead and blow this one off, but like I said, I'm not going to video that because I don't need to get my phone wet. Okay, the next step in the process is dumping the antifreeze in the drains. So you want to make sure that you got plenty in there. It only takes about a cup full in each drain, just to make sure that the water is dispersed enough that it's not going to freeze. Okay, apparently the hose is clogged. I don't know why, but it wasn't draining at all. Now it's doing just a fine job of draining out. So once this tank's emptied out, I'll turn the pump on, suck the water out of it, blow it up into the sink, which ends up in that bucket. And so I don't even have to, well, yeah, I do have to because there's a trap right there. And so I do have to put antifreeze in there to keep the trap from freezing. But eventually that will run outside. So now all I gotta do is sit back and wait for that tank to empty out. We've got this water dispenser, and you can't see the spigot here. Let me turn the lights on. There's the spigot, and it does have water in it. It's ceramic, so I need to make sure that that is dumped out before I leave, because that will freeze up and break and make a mess out of things. Okay, I went ahead and dumped that outside. That's taken care of. I can put the jug back on top of it. That will keep the bugs and the vermin out, and it's ready for use next season. The water tank is getting really low. I don't know if you can see it. Let me turn the light on. Yeah, it's getting real low now. I don't know why it wasn't draining before. But anyway, it's draining now. That's good enough for me. Once it's empty, like I said, I can turn the pump on, blow the lines out, and then dump the bucket. And then dump some antifreeze into the drain. So, now you know how to winterize the shedteau. Also, what I didn't show you was this hose right here is a fill hose. I raised it up and made sure that it dumped into the tank while it was emptying, because it will freeze up and break, and I don't want that either. So now you know, like I said, how to winterize my shedteau. No, the tank isn't quite empty, but it's awful close to it. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the pump on, drain the rest of it out, and it's good to go. I don't have to worry about emptying this tank completely out. With a 1/4 inch of water left in the bottom of it, it's not going to freeze. The ice will break before the tank does. So I'm not concerned about that at all. Okay, that part's done. Pump's blown out. The hose is drained. So now I gotta do is clean out the sink and empty out the bucket. So let's close this up. And close it solid. Over here, the same situation, except I cut part of the groove off in order to accommodate it. So let's get this sink cleaned out, get this drain winterized, and we're done. So part of the problem with using a wash tub for a sink basin is this rim right here holds water. It doesn't drain out. So you have to sop it up or force it down the drain. And yeah, it will eventually evaporate out of here. And even if it froze up, it's no big deal, because it's not all the way across the bottom. If it was all the way across the bottom, yeah, it could be a problem. But ice doesn't work that way. Okay, all the liquid's sopped up. It's just a matter of pouring the antifreeze down the drain, and we are good to go. Oh, I love my cabin time, but I hate closing it up for the winter time. We drain the water heater, and when we come back out, the water shut off to the water heater. So we use a 30 cup Shears and Roebuck percolator that belonged to my grandmother, and another smaller percolator to heat up water for washing dishes. If we want to take a bath, we'll heat up enough water to either sponge bathe or fill that little bathtub. That's a lot of water to heat up on a stove. But hey, I love cabin time. I love coming out here. Yeah, we'll probably be back around Christmas time, and we might spend a week or so out here. But until then, the cabin's closed. The shedteau is closed up, so we probably won't have any guests spending any time there. Nobody spent any time there yet, other than my wife and I. But my son's back from overseas, and next year in July he'll be moving to Peoria. Hopefully we'll have some people spending some time in our shedteau. But like I say, I hate closing up the cabin. Not that I don't like blowing out the lines and making sure nothing freezes. I know that when I come back, I got to turn everything back on. It's not there ready for me to use immediately, and to me, that's just a restriction. Oh well, life goes on. This is Greg. You've been watching Greg's Country Cabin Outdoors. Hope you enjoyed this little video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and click that little bell icon to make sure you get notified whenever I put up another video. Thanks for watching.